BookTube. I'm here for a tag. Steve Donoghue tagged me in for second tome around book tag. It's Tag Tuesday, so this is Tag Tuesday one day in the future. It's Wednesday here in the UK. Now there's 9 questions in total. It's all about used, if you buy used books, which I do. So the first question is, do you buy secondhand books? Yes, for the most part. I will buy occasionally new books. It's something that I really want. I will pre-order it once it comes out. I've got a couple things actually on pre-order. I've got Jonathan Bates' Wordsworth. That's coming out April 2nd here in the UK. And I'm looking forward to that. And there are a couple, there's a series of Chinese literature that's coming out slowly in hardback. And I've pre-ordered those because I do not want to miss those because I'm afraid that they might disappear fairly quickly. And I'm very interested in those. And I will buy new paperbacks as well, especially when I can see them or order them, because I am particular about condition, and paperback buying off the internet, if I don't see it, is very difficult. I'll only buy used paperbacks if I can see them. What is your latest purchase? Well, I did a book haul on Saturday. I went to the bookshop. A couple things I didn't show. There's a few more that I can't really get to at the moment. Some penguins that I bought. They were the last things I grabbed. They're ones either to reread, like this one, because I haven't read it in a long time. But as you can see, it's in pretty good shape. It does have a crease on the back, but I'm fine with that. And then this one here. Can't remember if I've actually ever read this before, but it's a mass market paperback. But yeah, so that's, as I say, they're in almost new condition, so I'm happy with that. Question number 3. Yeah, what condition do you find acceptable, i.e. tatty or not tatty, etc.? I try to get to the best condition. It depends on the price, obviously. If it's something I really want, if it's in rough shape, or if it's really old and scarce, then I do pick up stuff that's a little rough. But I try to get the better condition. I do not particularly like ex-library books, unless they are referenced, like these here. The Oxford Dictionary of National Biography is an ex-library from an Oxford library. I'm fine with that because they were a heck of a lot cheaper than I could have got them any other way, and they are reference, and I still need to do a bit of cleaning up on them, but they'll be fine. But for the most part, I don't like ex-library, especially which I get this quite often. If I order a book online, and it just drives me nuts. Where they said, "Oh, it's as new," and it comes different edition than first of all than they've even said, as well as it could be an ex-library or heavily underlined. I got one book that I really wanted it. It was about reading in the 18th century, and it was something like £60 or £80 for it new on Amazon, and then somebody else was selling one that says new for £25. I go, oh, steal, grab it. I ordered it, ex-library, and there wasn't a page that didn't have at least 10 or 15 lines underlined or highlighted. And it's just outright, criminal, because they're clearly lying. They're either just completely inept, or they're lying. So it's... Like there was just one bookseller that there's a 5-volume set that I'm interested in, but it's been listed kind of strangely. So I said, "Is this actually the 5 volumes?" I emailed, and they come back and say, "Oh, our warehouse is vast. We cannot locate something to tell you about the condition." please use the ISBN number and check with the publisher's website. Well, they don't have the ISBN number on it. And then I replied back and said that, and then their reply back was again, oh, without the ISBN number, we cannot search our stock to find any information for you. So it's either you know they're fraudulent and it's, you know, I want nothing to do with them, or they're totally inept and I want nothing to do with them. Because the price, if it was super, super cheap and I was willing to spend it and lose the money, then that's fine. But it wasn't that cheap to make it worthwhile. So anyway, that's a bit of a rant. And the other thing is the way they package stuff for mailing. They put it in a like basically a plastic bag to mail a heavy book. Yes, it may have been new when it's sent, but that gets dropped, that gets banged up, and it gets all dinged up. So it's like, I don't mind buying something that's damaged as long as I know that that's what I'm getting. I don't like buying something that says it's new when it comes, it's something else. That's fraudulent to me, and very poor packaging to put it in a plastic bag. I had a bookshop myself for over a decade, and I packaged stuff properly. There was never any damage out of thousands and thousands and thousands of books I sent all across the world. There were never any damage. It's like I order 3 books, and most of the time I get four books that are damaged. That's how bad it is now, because people do not take the care. They don't care about books at all. Like a lot of these people, they call themselves booksellers, but they're not, because they just do not care whatsoever about the book. And all it is a commodity for them. They could be selling dog turds and packaging those up in a plastic bag, and they'd be happy with that. So when you do find a bookseller that is good, hang on to them. And okay, 4. Now that's fine to go on to 4. After you've read said book, do you keep it for a reread or redonate it? I keep most of my books at the moment. There's a lot, because I buy more than I do read at the moment. And because if it's in areas that I'm interested in and I see them cheap, I will grab them, because I know for a fact that if I don't grab them at that point, they'll be gone. And if I ever do want to pick it up and read, I'll have to pay a lot more for it. So that's how it is. And most of the areas that I buy in, most of it are ones that I do want to keep and re-reference or possibly reread. However, I am getting near, if not past, the point of space-wise, so I will need to eventually start culling, and I'll either cull stuff that I do know that I've read and they're not that good for that part of the collection, and then part with those to put something else on that's better. So I'll start winnowing things out, lesser books for better books to actually better my collection. But that's I'm beginning to do that occasionally now, or when I trade up, as I say, if I get a paperback or something because I do want it, and it's a paperback book, and then I find a hardcover, I'll buy the hardcover, and then I'll either sell the paperback if I can, or donate it to a charity shop. And then number 5 is, do you have a favorite place you like to go when looking for secondhand books? I've got a very good bookshop here in Bedford, the Eagle Bookshop. It's very good, and I go there most of the time. There's another charity bookshop as well, and they're hit or miss. I find things there occasionally. I don't get there as often as I'd like. There's other charity shops around, but for the most part, they're not as good as they used to be. There was a Salvation Army that had a whole floor of books. Most of it was tatty, but occasionally they'd get some nice stuff in. Like they got a lot of interesting poetry at one time, and a lot of old science fiction paperbacks. They were ratty. They were falling apart pretty well, but they were very cheap. I bought them, read them, and then just donated them back. So I do that occasionally for things that are rough. But yeah, and everywhere I've lived, I've always found somewhere that I like. Even if I have to travel, there's a couple bookshops in Oxford I like. I don't get there very often, and there's a couple in Cambridge that I try to get to a couple times a year. Last year, I'm not sure even if I made it, but I will be going back this year. Hardback or paperback, do you have a preference? Yes, definitely hardback. However, there's times when there's things like this that, possibly a Folio Society. If it's cheap enough, I will grab it, but I'm perfectly happy with Penguin paperbacks, Oxford World Classics, because a lot of times it's hard to get nice hardcovers in this for the classics. If it's something I really, really like, then I will search it out, yes. But I'm perfectly happy with this, or with a lot of just general reading. I've got a lot of crime novels that I've picked up over the last couple of years in paperback. The British Museum has put out a crime series. I think they're up to about 80 volumes in paperback. I was able to get I think 60 of them for they're all brand new basically, but I got them for just over £1 a piece, so I couldn't pass them up, and I read those occasionally just to fill in between things, and I go to some other remainder places and buy a bunch of paperbacks occasionally when I want something else to read. And that it becomes a problem because they are stacked up, but those I probably will recycle back, a lot of them. The British Library ones, probably not, because I think they're a good series that they've done. They've also started a science fiction series that I'd love to start getting, as well as a sort of dark fiction horror series as well, and those would all be perfect, and I'd be happy with those in paperback. But as I say, if for nonfiction, I will try to get hardcover. But if something pops up that's of interest, and it's a very good paperback and it's cheap, I will grab it. And sometimes there are items, like I think I bought a South African publication on Saturday that is only going to be in paperback, so that's perfectly fine. And it says, have you found any real gems? Yes, over the years I have. Gems in many, many ways. Not so. Sometimes items that are worth a lot of money. I picked up a Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand for hardcover for 25 cents, American cents, 20 years ago now or so. And it was the first printing, but the first state. It had all the points for the first state, so that was worth a lot of money. Pardon me. I had no real interest in the book, so I sold it and bought more books with it. And I've done that for a lot of things. I've shown one that the Billy the Kid connection with a Oxford Don or Oxford professor. I find that a gem. Whether it's worth something, who's to know? I've got a few other things like that, and sometimes I'll find items with interesting inscriptions in that I find are just they're gems to me. So yes, I'm constantly finding items that are gems. I really liked Steve's one of the Star Trek book there, where the person went through and excised and scribbled out all the swear words, all the curse words, and then cut out whole section of not canon Star Trek captain. Yeah, that has a story in itself. Every book has a story in itself, but that has just a wonderful story, as he said, just a nut job that must have been who had it. But yeah, it's things like that make collecting even more fascinating, because you never know what you're going to get, or you never know what you're going to get in the books as well with the ephemera. Optional. Find a book from your shelves that you can donate to a cause or a good cause or local charity. Yeah, I have several already that I've picked up hardcovers for, and I will be, because I know I'm not going to be able to sell the paperback, so I'll drop them off at a charity shop at some point, waiting till I get enough that it makes it worthwhile to fill up a bag to do this. And then it says tag others. Well, if you'd like to do it, do. Again, I think I'll wait a little bit before I start tagging people till I get to know other booktubers a little better, know who better to tag. So, but thanks very much, Steve, for the tag. It was interesting. I've sort of tried to rush through it and with as little rant as possible when it comes to, but when I start get going about used books and some sellers, it's hard to stop because it just, yeah. But anyway, I better stop there, or I will continue on and on and on. Have a good evening, BookTube, or night, morning, whenever you see this. I'll be back for Friday Reads. I doubt I'll be here tomorrow, unless something pops up. I'm just continuing. I'm not reading as much as I had hoped. It's been a rough week this week. But take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.